Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our Cabral HouseCalls. We're getting started, diving into part 2 today. Yesterday, hopefully you were able to tune in. We answered a bunch of our community's questions then. I think somewhere around 7 or 8 of those answered yesterday, and of course, we're going to be doing it again today. Each and every weekend, answering our community's questions. We've been doing that now for over 4 years. Haven't missed a weekend. Well over 5,000 questions answered from our community. I am still looking for that exact number. I know my team can grab that number, and we will absolutely do that. But yesterday was a lot of fun. Hopefully you tuned in for that show. We were able to really get down to the underlying issues for many of these people's potential problems. Let's just go over a quick recap. So we talked about carbon-60, we went over GC-MAF and colostrum, we talked about CoQ10, we talked about the organic acids test, we also went over the CBO protocol. What else did we chat about? We talked about nutritional yeast and if that's okay, especially on a detox. Then we talked about why zucchini and squash are not on the detox-based guide for those doing the summer detox. Where else do we go? We also spoke about lower back pain, especially for younger people. What are those potential issues? How to solve that. We talked about, does Himalayan sea salt and lime break a fast, especially those people doing that for your morning or AM water. Talked about shipping to Colombia, and then we talked about the best exercises to shape and tone the glutes. So check that out. That was at stephencabral.com/1604, stephencabral.com/1604. All right. Up next, well, we're going to dive into today's questions. So if you're new to the show, each and every weekend we answer wellness, weight loss, anti-aging based questions. If you don't want to wait the 6 to 8 weeks by writing into the Ask Cabral page, feel free to submit your question at cabralsupportgroup.com. That's our private Facebook group. Our community, our health coaches, everyone would be able to and happy to guide you in that right direction. So again, we're about 6 weeks or so behind. This question to start off today was from May 20th. And the next ones will be from essentially May 21st, May 22nd. Looks like all the way through the 27th we will get to. So if you asked your question before May 27th, it will have been answered already on our weekend host calls. And of course, if you submitted yours after May 27th, it will be coming on a future Cabral host call. All right, let's get started. Let's answer some questions. The first question today is from Dani. Hey, Dr. Cabral, good day. Being a skeptic, I enjoyed how you put across how we're all energy and all that in your mindset Mondays. I did further reading and have a better understanding now. I am, however, still a skeptic with regard to astrology and how it impacts us. Don't know if it's exactly in your field, but I'd still like to get your personal thoughts on it or if it's woo-woo and is really negligible. Keep up the great work. All right. Dani, great question. So here's the thing. I am still a science-based guy at heart. So even especially when I first started reading about Ayurveda and TCM and other forms of medicine, it was a bit challenging for me to even buy into it. But of course, I'm glad that I did. You know, there's something that comes with age and just continuing to pursue knowledge. And some of that is wisdom and is a path that I'm on. It's a path that I'm really looking and moving towards. And it's really tough when you're in your 20s to have wisdom. You know, it's just, you haven't lived enough life yet. So I'm much more open to things now than I was in my early 20s. However, And so obviously, though, I like to still back it up by science. So when we're talking about energy and we're talking about atoms and quarks and neurons and protons and everything that our body is made up of, well, that's energy. That is literally vibrating molecules and energy. And if you really go down deep, you can start to study this in quantum physics and quantum mechanics. I've certainly taken physics-based courses before. I enjoy the study of physics. I enjoy actually the study more of quantum physics and quantum mechanics, but certainly I'm not an expert in that area. I've just read in that area, and I've read quite a number of books, so I have some knowledge on it, but I'm not an expert, but enough to know how it works with our health and wellness and mental health and wellness. When it comes to astrology, though, not an expert at all in this topic. Have I read on it? Yes. As much as quantum physics and mechanics? No. And I don't know that I will. It's something that I kind of refer out to. I just don't, and I know people say it affects their life and all of those things. I just am the type of person, because of what I've been through, to not really allow other outside forces to really affect how my typical day is going to go. So whether certain stars are aligned or whatever it might be, or a full moon or not a full moon, yeah, maybe it does. Maybe it actually does affect my mood and my energy a little bit, but I'm not going to change my day and my way of being based on the stars and astrology. Now, is there something to it? Well, for sure. But I'm talking about just in the realm of what I do, which is health. Like, that's really what I'm talking about. So I went to, I wish I could remember the name right now. I've certainly spoken with Vedic astrologers. I apologize, I can't remember, and I don't look things up on the house calls, on the weekend house calls. But, they were like, hey, you're going to die. They literally told me, like, you're going to die at this age. And it was just like wild stuff. I'm like, nobody's telling me when I'm going to die. Like, I'm just not buying into that. Okay, so it was set when I was born, when I was going to die. And so that means my life is completely predestined. And, this is just the outcome. No matter what I do, this is the date. I'm not buying into it. So, Dani, you can obviously see I'm a bit of a skeptic when it comes to my everyday life, but maybe I just don't have enough wisdom in that area. Now, do I believe in it? Yes. Do I believe in astrology? Yes. And here's why. Is that there's more to it than just how it affects our everyday life and health. So yes, I believe in astrology. So I don't want anybody to come down on me because of that. And, maybe it's happenstance, maybe it's just chance, but when you look up the birth sign Aries, I am an Aries birth sign. It is, even if you don't believe it, it is for me 100% on. Like, I am an Aries through and through. But here's the other thing. My oldest daughter was born in July. She, to me, seems like an Aries birth sign. So is it just because I'm firstborn and she's firstborn that we're more like the Aries birth sign, which is the fire-based sign, independent, all of those things? Well, maybe. So again, not an expert in the area. I'm happy I got to talk about it, but certainly not my field of study. All right, a lot of words for not my field of study. Gloria's up next. I want to heal my hypothyroidism and help with anti-aging things, nutrients, or so. Thanks, Gloria. Okay. Well, to work on low thyroid, my absolute highest recommendation is to figure out why you have low thyroid. And I have a lot of podcasts on that. So it's all free information. And I have no doubt that when you listen to those, you will know what to do. If you head on over to stevencabral.com/podcasts, hey, let's do this together. So we'll head over to the podcast page because there's a graphic. So like the first one you go to, in the middle, it says detoxification protocols. And if you scroll to the right, it says fix your digestion. If we keep going, fix your digestion, rebalance your hormones, nutrition and diet solutions, insomnia, stress and relaxation, thyroid healing solutions. All right, so if we click on that graphic, it goes to stevencabral.com/topic/thyroid. And you'll see all of my thyroid podcasts right there. And basically, it's going to tell you the nutrient deficiencies, the toxicities you may have, and also the number one lab to run, which would be the stress hormones, mood and metabolism test. And that's available at equilibriumnutrition.com. All right. And then that comes with a full plan and coaching call as well. Madison's up next. I was wondering if you have any experience with the mushroom AHCC. I know there's a lot of clinical research about its effects on cancer, as well as autoimmune conditions. I didn't come across any of those in your podcast, surprisingly, so I'm just curious to hear your opinion on this. Thanks for all you do. All right, yeah, I'm happy to give you my opinion on these specific mushroom blends and extracts. as well. I've done shows on mushrooms before, so there's kind of like no doubt about that. Here's the thing, and I have read about the AHCC, which is an extract. So again, like we want to look at this as it's not a mushroom, it's an extract. So one of the things that I look at with mushrooms is I actually use them in my practice for specific health-based conditions. Again, we're not doing treatments or protocols, but we're using them to boost natural killer cells. We're using them to boost T cells. And in some areas, we're using it to rebalance Th1 and Th2 immunity. I use them for things like HPV, as you've seen before with reishi mushrooms. So, again, I'm a huge advocate of them. There's no doubt about it. And, do I recommend them? Yes, I'm all for them in specific instances. I believe the AHCC that you're talking about comes from shiitake mushrooms. So it's a shiitake mushroom that you're speaking about, but it's a specific extract. And again, many of these mushroom-based blends are high in what are called beta, that's my Boston accent coming out, putting an R on things that shouldn't be there, like idea or yogurt or pizza, but it has to do with the beta-glucans improving white blood cells. Okay, so of my experience with it, well, I've never used HCC in my practice, but I have used shiitake mushrooms and, all the different mushroom blends based on the individual. It's just not our go-to. Again, because there's no silver bullet, but it would be part of a nice wellness-based protocol for certain individuals for sure. So Madison, great question, really great question. And yes, I'm an advocate. All right, Jenny's up next. Hi, I'm sending an inquiry from my father-in-law. He has a history of metastatic cancer and cardiopulmonary conditions like congestive heart failure. He's 86, on a myriad of medications to address symptoms, including a diuretic. He's consistently in pain, experiencing side effects from the medications. He wants a different option. I'm wondering if this is the type of patient you could help, and if so, what you recommend as the next step. Thanks in advance, Jenny. All right. First of all, I forgot to mention this. Many of you who are longtime listeners, you know that you can tune in each weekend to look at the questions, but you're welcome right now, everyone, to go to stevencabral.com/1605. That's today's podcast. Someone asked last weekend, and I forgot to answer it, how you can find all the podcasts. Well, you can just go to stevencabral.com/podcast. But the other thing that you can do, you can always just type in the number after stevencabral.com. So stevencabral.com, you can just type in, and let's make sure this works, 001. And there you go. It's a Motivation and Mindset Monday, my very first podcast called Use the Slight Edge to Ensure You'll Achieve Goals This Year. That was my very first podcast. I don't even know what that sounds like. It's probably quite embarrassing, but I love showing you the process. My first 100 podcasts, they probably sounded a little strange, but that was just me out there trying to live my passion, live my purpose, do my best. So again, you can just type in 3 numbers after stevencabral.com, 002, 003, 100, 101, and then all the way up to today's, which is 1605. It's been quite the journey. All right. Jenny, okay. So how would we help? Well, for someone that's 86 years old and they have a number of health-based issues, I can't recommend enough working with our health coaching team. That's the truth. So you can do one of 3 things. You can go to equilibriumnutrition.com and just type on the health coaching tab at the top, then on the navigation bar. And if you do that, let's go again together. I always want to make sure I'm giving you the correct information. And when you click on that, equilibriumnutrition.com, it says health coaching, the very first one. And then under that, you should have 3 different options. And yes, the last one is private health coaching. That's the one that I would do. It's a 3-month program. You get 3 different calls. They will help you choose the specific labs for your father-in-law. Again, if you don't want to do that and you want to work with someone locally, I recommend going to integrativehealthpractitioner.org, clicking on the practitioners, and finding someone in your local area that's an integrative health practitioner. And the third option is simply looking in your area for a functional medicine doctor or naturopathic doctor if you choose. Okay? So 3 options. Feel free to choose what you feel is best for you and your family. But again, good to have your father-in-law have his MD and then have a natural health coach as well. Okay, next up. Chris is here. Hey, Dr. Cabral, I've been taking the activated multivitamin and have noticed since taking it, I get a bit jittery feeling and become very anxious. I can only tolerate 1 pill at most, and through research, I realized that the methylated B vitamins are most likely the cause because I have a calm tea homozygous gene defect. What are your recommendations for someone who wants to get all of their daily nutrients but cannot tolerate methylcobalamin? Oh, that's a great question, Chris. This is something that I dealt with back in the day. Now, here's the interesting thing. I've found that the more that you improve your liver detox pathways, the less this becomes an issue. So in the beginning, I could never use higher dosages of B vitamins because the same thing happens. Heart palpitations, jittery, sometimes I got brain fog, and now it's not an issue. So that doesn't mean it's going to happen for everyone, but certainly that would be one of the things. So let's look this up for you. If I'm on Equilibrium Nutrition and I go to Daily Activated Multi, let's look at the dosage right now for you. So Daily Activated Multi. Okay, so I'll just use the search bar. Again, just like you would as well. The very first one should pop up, Daily Activated Multi. Let's just see here. I see it. There we go. All right. So yeah, but for basically $1 a day, you get all your vitamins and minerals. It's pretty impressive. Okay, so let's check this out. The methylcobalamin is at 500 micrograms. And I actually believe that's probably what our daily nutritional support is as well. So when you're taking then the just one capsule, you'd be at only 100 or 125, I apologize, 125 micrograms of methylcobalamin. So I'm wondering if that's really the issue, since that is quite a small dosage. I know it's much higher than the RDA. So, of course, the one is better than none. But what I would think about doing, let me see if I can just go to the daily nutritional support for 1 second for you. So daily nutritional support, and there we are. It's the first one when we type that in. The chocolate and vanilla will both have the same amount, so that's irregardless of which flavor you choose. Methylcobalamin, B12, 245 micrograms. Okay, so that's an easier way to do it. It's half the B12 inside of the daily nutritional support. So what you may want to do is use the daily nutritional support and even just use 1 scoop of that, and you get actually more of the other vitamins and a little less of the B12. And then what I would say too is really focus in on potentially doing a little bit more liver detoxification from a functional medicine-based perspective, and then using cofactors so that you're not having as many issues with the methylation-based process. So meaning like I found B6, of course, to be tremendously helpful. I found zinc to be tremendously helpful. I have found magnesium to be tremendously helpful as well. So it's just something to explore. I don't know exactly what you're going through, but of course, running some labs too, just looking if there's other gut-based issues, especially a candida metabolic and vitamins test could be, right up your alley as something that you may want to explore. Okay, Luan is up next. Hello, Dr. Cabral. What is the status of your low EMF sauna development? I would like to buy a sauna, but I'm worried about EMFs. Thank you, Luan. Okay, Luan, yeah, I did mention that around, about 7 or 8 months ago now. And, I haven't done a full update, but as of right now, I haven't given up. It's the wrong way to phrase that. I'm teaching a little bit of this language-based use inside of IHP Mastery right now, but I've paused on my sauna-based development. We have so much going on that we're not really a sauna-based company. So it's a very large undertaking for me to really look at that right now. We'd have to start from scratch. So actually the low EMF sauna that I've recommended before, if you want to go to it right now, it's the least expensive one. You could certainly do that. Again, I'll have my resources page up soon. That'll be at stephencabral.com/resources, and all the links will be there. Go to stephencabral.com/podcasts for right now and type in sauna, or type in even EMF sauna, or type in Therasage, Therasage, and you'll be able to see that one. That's the lower expensive one. You can keep it right inside. I will tell you that other brands make low EMF saunas. They're going to be in the $3,000 to $6,000 price range. They're going to be more pricey for sure. The Therasage one's going to be under $1,000. I was trying to create one. I had high hopes for around like $400, $500. So it'd be less, but we're just not able to do that right now. Keep in mind, none of them can be no EMF because you actually need EMFs in order to create the infrared waves, right? Just like a PEMF mat, which I recommend, are low EMF, but you need the EMFs that are more beneficial actually for the body. And so there's obviously that gray space. Another thing that you could do is if you're just worried, you could also get a sauna that is a non-infrared. Like, for example, I have a infrared sauna, but I also have I'm very happy to say, just getting installed this weekend, a barrel sauna, which is essentially a Swedish sauna or a Finnish sauna, however you want to describe it. And that one is basically no EMFs. Around the heater, of course, it's plugged in, it's electrical, so there's going to be EMFs there, but not where I'm seated. So that's blocked because there's no infrared waves. This is just a hot sauna. And there's benefits to both. One, you can really crank up to 180 degrees if you want. You can get it higher if you really want to. I don't think you need that. And then the infrared is more like between 120 and 140 degrees so that you can stay in it for a longer period of time. One's shorter time, higher heat. One is longer amount of time with the infrared wave. So I think I answered your question. Hopefully that was helpful. And you know what? We are going to keep it at that for today. I've been really trying to keep my podcast at 22 minutes simply because I want to respect your time and I want you to be able to tune in on a daily basis. I really do. It's not about one show. It's not about knowing one thing, and one thing is never the answer. I want you to continue to accumulate your health knowledge. I want you to do it for yourself. I want you to do it for your family, your loved ones, and I simply want you to have a go-to place when you need an answer that you can, I hope that you can trust it. I really feel that way. There's no one that sponsors this podcast that I have to say anything. There's no outside media sources. There's no outside influences. Whatever I believe, whatever I've researched, I give you that unbiased truth. I never compromise my integrity, and I'm always trying to do what I feel is best for you. It doesn't mean it's always 100% going to be perfect for you, but I do my very best, and I just want you to know that. So hopefully this has been helpful, and as always, if the show is helpful, if it can serve anybody else, please do feel free to share the show with anyone else you believe it could serve. Take care, everyone. I'll talk with you tomorrow on our Mindset and Motivation Monday. Stay tuned. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only two ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to StephenCabral.com/rainbarrel.